This is the beginning of tape number 2. We are back on the record at 10:27.
All right. So before we took a break, I asked you if you knew how many other congregations or congresses of Buddhist communities in the United States there were, and I think you said there were several or many.
Many, yes.
Do you know how many there are?
No.
Does the Congress that you work for have any formal affiliation or meetings with these other congregations or groups of Buddhists?
No, that would be against the principle of Buddhism, because everything, the principle is based on being able to freely associate, and so it's all on the voluntary basis.
Okay, so now I'm confused, because my understanding is, well, you indicate that Buddhism requires voluntary attendance, voluntary membership. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So does the Congress that you work for have any formal way to communicate with other Congresses?
Yes.
Objection. I just want to clarify, there aren't other Congresses. Are you talking about other congregations?
Yeah, other congregations.
Yes.
Does any other Buddhist congregation that you know of have the name Congress in their name?
No.
Okay. All right. So then any other congregation, how do they communicate with those other congregations?
A formal letter would be issued to the congregation.
Is there any prohibition for a monk from another Buddhist congregation to come to a temple that is affiliated with the Congress?
All right.
Objection vague.
Yes. I see where you're going with that. See, each temple or each congregation are being led by the monk. Okay, so that's what we are talking about. So therefore, if a monk was not a member of the Congress want to come to that temple, that monk has to ask the monk that is at that particular location permission to enter.
Okay.
Okay. And if the monk authorized or allowed the visiting monk to come to the temple, and that is fine.
Okay, so as long as they receive permission from what you call the directing or managing monk of a
Right.
certain temple, then they can have access, even
Right.
if they're not affiliated with the Congress.
That's correct.
All right. So what happens in situations where there is no monk that's living within a temple? How are requests for visiting monks to teach there handled?
There are always a monk, even though there is no monk at that residing at that location, but there are always a monk that would be in charge, of the religious teaching, okay, assigned by the Congress. So the visiting monk can always find out who was the monk that was assigned by the Congress for that particular temple and ask for permission.
Okay, how would you find out?
How would he find out?
Yes.
Well, by the congregant at that particular location.
So the congregation would tell the visiting monk, oh, you need to check with so-and-so,
Right.
and only if he says yes can you come in.
Right.
Is there any requirements for monks that are assigned to temples in which they do not reside to maintain some minimum contacts with them? Like you must at least visit 3 times a year, you must write a letter once a month, anything like that?
Well, the thing is that there is no requirement because the actions are by voluntary action. Therefore, by the same principle, if a monk is dedicated to that particular temple, the monk will make the effort to be there. So, therefore, there is no requirement, there is no enforcement.
In your experience with the Congress, have you ever seen a discussion had by the executive board that a pagoda has said, my monk doesn't like us, he doesn't come, we're in the middle of Nebraska, no one wants to come here because it's cold, and say, can you give me another monk? Have you ever heard any type of discussion like that?
So that would be against the principle of the compassion of Buddhism. If you complain, that means that you have forgotten about compassion.
So you shouldn't. You can't even complain.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
A good monk would not complain about the harsh situation. A good monk will take that as an honor, because if there would be no heaven if there is no hell.
All right, so I understand that the monk should not complain. He should probably look at the hardship as a trial to go to Nebraska in the middle of winter. But what about the members of the congregation? What if they felt neglected by their monk? What regress would they have with the Congress to make sure that a monk was sent to them?
Objection, assume facts, not in evidence.
Yes, they will have a chance at the annual forum to bring it to the Congress. And that will be in public, so therefore there will be no doubt.
All right, so at the annual forum, then you would stand up and say, for example, thank you for assigning monk A to my temple, but he hasn't been to our temple in a year. Could you please assign another monk?
Yes.
Okay, and so would then Congress remedy that?
They will take that under consideration, and they will discuss among themselves, and they will make a decision, and then we'll make an announcement, a formal announcement, who is going to be the monk who will replace that particular monk.
Okay, and so when a monk is invited to your pagoda, who pays for the travel expenses for that monk?
The congregation will pay for that, pay for those expenses.
Okay, and so the congregation then has the burden of paying for someone to come be their spiritual leader if they don't have a monk in residence?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have, I'm going back to exhibit number 115, which is the notice again. I'll make sure you're the right person to address all these topics. Do you have information about the Congress's relationship with how the society became affiliated with the Congress?
It's all by open forum, so we would know it through the formal contact. And it's never, there's no such thing as a single person talking to a single monk. The subject will be brought out in the open forum, and the decision will be made, and an official statement will be issued.
Okay, so, but do you know if any one-on-one discussions were had between the society in Utah and a monk from the Congress about them becoming affiliated with the Congress?
Objection, vague.
No, I would not know about that.
Did you ask anyone in preparation for today about any conversations that could have occurred between Utah, the pagoda in Utah, and a monk?
I would be chastised for asking that.
Why?
Because an individual monk meeting or interaction with a member of congregation is a private matter. The matter of the Congress is addressed at the monthly annual forum and the monthly open forum or the annual open forum. It would never be addressed behind the door or being addressed on a private level.
Okay, so do you understand, have you had a chance to look at the amended complaint and counterclaim that was filed in this case?
I had, but I did not study in that.
Okay, would you like to see it so we can talk about it then?
Yes.
I'll mark this as Exhibit 116. All right, so, and the reason I ask this is because topic number 10 indicates that the person that was supposed to be sent to represent the Congress needed to have in-depth knowledge of all the allegations in the plaintiff's amended complaint. Would you believe that you're the correct person to answer those questions then?
Which one? On page 3?
Yeah, I'm looking on page 5 of the notice.
Okay.
Topic number 10, which appears on Exhibit 115, as one of the topics to be addressed at today's 30B6 deposition, was in-depth knowledge of all the allegations in the plaintiff's amended complaint. And then as a courtesy, I handed you Exhibit 116, which happens to be the amended complaint. And I asked, do you believe you're the correct person to provide me with in-depth knowledge of all the allegations in this complaint?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And when did you first review this complaint?
I first reviewed this thing yesterday.
Okay. And did you take any steps to verify any of the facts that were set forth in this complaint?
Yes, I review the document that I have to check against the facts.
Okay, what documents did you look at?
I look at the warranty deed. I look at the deed transfer and also the acquisition document that was prepared when they first acquired the Phổ Quang temple from the library.
What do you mean the accusation document? I'm not sure if I'm following what you're talking about.
The acquisition.
Oh, acquisition. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So in paragraph 10 of the complaint, which is Exhibit 116 on page 3 of this exhibit, it indicates that...
No, wait a minute.
Sorry.
You're talking about 16,
Exhibit?
which is the 10 this. There's a 10 in here also.
I understand.
Okay.
You listen, sorry. I wasn't clear. I'll be more clear with you. Exhibit 116.
Okay.
Page number 3.
Right.
Paragraph number 10.
Okay.
Okay, we good? Literally, we're on the same page, right? Hopefully.
Right.
All right, so do you have any independent knowledge as to whether or not $305,000 was the accurate purchase price for the pagoda in Utah?
It's approximate. It cannot be. You're telling me it's accurate. I cannot, because it's say it here approximately 205,000.
Do you know if it's approximately accurate?
Yes.
How do you know that?
By looking at the pleading and also looking at the acquisition document, the compiling of donation and what was paid to acquire the land.
Okay, so did you look at mortgage documents for the pagoda?
I would not call that mortgage document because what I had was incomplete. And if you have a more complete mortgage document, I would like to review that.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure out what you did to prepare to be able to talk to me about the complaints.
Yes, because whatever been provided to us, we looked into it, and I did not see a complete mortgage document, the loan application, the loan commitment, title commitment. I didn't see anything of that nature to be complete. There was a sheet showing what would be the payoff, what would be required at the closing, but there was no complete mortgage document.
Okay.
Do you have a complete that set?
I'll show them to you later. How about that? I'm still trying to figure out if you're the right person for me to talk to, or who else I need to talk to. There are topics that you don't know. So let's look back at page 4 of this Exhibit 116. Paragraph 17, it says, Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Vo were appointed by the Congress to be members of the board. How did you independently verify that fact?
This portion of it, they were appointed. There was no document saying that they were appointed. There was only a document made to show that they were a member of the board. On the other time, what was that? The society or the association?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, these allegations are in here. I just want to make sure that you're the right person that knows about these things. Were you able to verify that, see if that's accurate or not?
I couldn't find any document verifying this, that they were appointed by the Congress.
Okay. How about paragraph 19? Several years later, in 2007, the Congress discharged Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Vo from the board after the Congress learned that Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Vo were not fulfilling their duties to the Congress. Did you independently verify those facts?
Actually, we should have said 2004, but if 2007 is within 2004 period, then I would take that by that time, Mr. Fan, Mr. Tran, Mr. Vo, no longer should be the member of the board.
Okay, and so what makes you believe that as of 2004 they should no
That
longer be
was in
members of the board?
2004. That was the Congress assigned the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng, okay, to be in charge of the board of the pagoda, of the Phổ Quang pagoda. And if the Congress has assigned the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng to be in charge of that, Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, Mr. Vo could not be there unless he stay on beyond the order of the Venerable of the Congress.
All right, so did you find any documents that supported that led you to believe that Thích Trí Lãng had been assigned in 2004? Was that how you got that information?
Yes.
Okay. And did you see anything in the documents that officially indicated that Mr. Phan, Mr. Vo, and Mr. Tran had actually been discharged from their duties at the pagoda?
I don't see anything that say specifically addressing Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Vo according to the Congress order. The order assigned the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng in 2004 to be the chair of the board. So the record that I saw still having Mr. Tran being the chair of the board. So there was a conflict there to me.
Okay, so you indicate that the records you reviewed created a conflict between Mr. Vo, or Mr. Tran, and then the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng being the head of the temple. Is that what you're saying?
No, the chair.
The chair. Do you have any information about how the association/society in Utah was organized by the bylaws?
Objection. Assumes facts not in evidence.
I have received a bylaw that was in Vietnamese. However, the bylaw did not have all the signature on it. So I'm not so sure that whether the bylaw was something that was adopted at that time or it was produced because of the litigation.
Okay, and so bylaws drafted by whom? Do you remember?
The bylaw was drafted by Mr. Tran.
And was it represented by the Congress, or was it the bylaws of the Phổ Quang Pagoda's local group?
The Phổ Quang Pagoda.
Okay, so you looked at a set of bylaws that was drafted, you believe, by the society/association that's disputing the ownership of the Phổ Quang Pagoda. Is that fair to say?
Objection.
No,
Assumes facts
it's not fair to
evidence.
say that.
Okay, then which bylaws did you look at? That's what I'm trying to understand.
The bylaw that was produced by Mr. Tran.
Okay.
Okay, and I had no knowledge whether the bylaw was produced at the time the board was formed or it was produced for the purpose of the litigation. I couldn't verify that.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge as to whether or not the Congress asks its affiliated pagodas to execute bylaws?
The Congress will not ask their affiliated member to execute bylaw. Is again, the principle of Buddhism is by voluntary action. Therefore, the affiliation would be on their own recognition to draft bylaws.
So then, to the best of your knowledge, then, Congress never sent a set of bylaws to the Phổ Quang Pagoda and asked them to sign them.
To my best knowledge, the Congress issue their own set of bylaw
Okay.
to be reviewed by all members affiliated with Congress for review.
And is it a requirement to be affiliated that you adopt these bylaws?
Again, it is voluntary.
Okay. So you can still be affiliated with the Congress and not accept the bylaws if you didn't want to.
That would be against the principle
Okay.
of a corporation if you don't sign a bylaw, if you are a member of the corporation. And again, Buddhism is a principle by self-recognition,
By what?
self-enlightenment.
Self-enlightenment.
Self-recognition,
Right,
is recognition and self-enlightenment.
Yes, you recognize your act being proper or not proper. So there is no pressure on any member to execute a certain document. But by applying the principle, you know what to do, the right thing.
So you indicated earlier that it would be a violation of the principles of the corporation not to sign the bylaws. And I'm trying to figure out what corporation are you referring to?
The nonprofit corporation.
Okay, so if there is a nonprofit corporation that owns the pagoda, you're saying that nonprofit should execute its own bylaws?
I'm not saying that. It has to be done according to the law.
Okay, so what if a pagoda is not in a corporation?
Objection, not relevant.
Well, are you referring to Phổ Quang Pagoda not being a non-profit corporation?
Well, I'm just asking you. I mean, I'm trying to figure out, is it a requirement to be a
Are
member?
we getting outside of the Phổ Quang Pagoda issue here?
I'm just trying to understand exactly what the parameters of what you're saying. That's all. Okay, so what I want to know is if my affiliation with the Congress requires anything, okay, and specifically, would it require me as the affiliated pagoda to form a corporation and have bylaws?
There is no requirement because it's all on voluntary basis. Therefore, you want to be a good citizen, you follow the law. Simple as that.
Okay, so my affiliation then is not contingent upon me taking any steps to form a not-for-profit corporation, elect officers, pass a bylaw. If there's a pagoda that's not in a corporation, they can still be affiliated with the Congress.
Objection, assumes facts not in evidence.
I haven't seen one.
So you've never seen a pagoda that wasn't in some sort of not-for-profit organization?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you ever seen the Congress deny someone affiliation because they were not incorporated?
Objection, assumes facts not in evidence.
I'm not so sure how I would frame that. The affiliation is not by demand. The affiliation is by how you adhere to the principle of the Congress.
Okay. So when we talk about the bylaws of the Congress,
Right.
who executes those bylaws?
The Congress.
So the 15 members of the executive board?
Yes.
All right. Do those bylaws have to be executed by anyone else?
No.
If you indicated that a monk may either reside at a pagoda, or he or she may be assigned to a pagoda in which he does not reside. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. And of the 14 monks that are on the executive council, are all of them assigned to oversee pagodas?
Objection,
They're not being
the
assigned.
state's prior testimony.
They are not being assigned.
Okay.
They make their own choice, which pagoda they want to go there. The only assignment that they would receive is a pagoda that has not selected or has not chosen a monk, or a monk has not chosen that particular pagoda.
Oh, I see. So it's a voluntary association between a monk and a pagoda.
Right.
All right. So are there any monks that are the spiritual leaders for no pagodas?
Say again.
Are there any monks that are not the not the spiritual leaders of any pagodas? I guess is a better way to say it.
Objection vague.
I would not. I have heard, but I would not know exactly, specifically, and a monk.
Okay, so you've heard from whom?
By reading newspaper, there are traveling monk that would not reside to any particular pagoda.
All right, I'm focusing on the Congress's monks. So there's 14 of them. Is that correct, or 15?
Yes.
Okay.
Objection misstates prior
All
testimony.
right. So how many of them are there? Monks in the Executive Council of the Congress.
Yeah, 14.
All right. So of these 14,
Right.
are any one of those 14 not the spiritual leader of a pagoda?
No.
Okay. So all of them are assigned to pagodas then?
No, not assigned. Again,
Okay,
that's a
excuse me.
wrong term.
Okay, not
they
assigned.
have selected their own pagoda.
So all are affiliated with a pagoda?
Yes.
All right. Are any of these 14 affiliated with more than one pagoda?
Yes.
All right. So how many affiliated pagodas does the Congress have in the United States?
It varies.
Okay. Today?
Today, I would say around 50.
All right, so 50. Is there an attempt by the Congress to evenly distribute the affiliations so that one monk is not overburdened? Or is that just happen how it happens?
Objection vague and compound.
It's by voluntary basis. If the monk wants to take the responsibility for that particular pagoda, he would go there.
All right. Do you know of any monks that have affiliations with more than 3 pagodas?
Do I know a monk who has affiliation? Yes.
All right, who is that?
The Venerable Thích Việt.
Or how do you spell that, please?
Huyền is Huyên.
Okay.
Việt is Viet.
Do you know how many he's associated with or affiliated with?
Now, how many that he would attend or take responsibility to attend to the religious event. Affiliation is such a word that carry monetary or material possession. That's the reason why I'm reluctant to say that.
I'm not tied to the word. I'm just trying to figure out which
yes.
monk has a relationship with which pagodas is what I'm trying to get
Yeah,
at.
he has a visiting burden for. Well, he's the leader for the one in Houston.
Okay.
He also has the visiting burden for the one in Port Arthur. He also has the visiting burden for the one in Salt Lake City, Utah.
All right. So does he reside at the Houston temple
Yes.
or pagoda? And so he visits Palo Alto and Salt Lake City as well.
Port Arthur. P-O-R-T, Arthur. A-R-T-H-U-R.
I don't know what that is.
Port Arthur?
Yes.
Port Arthur, thank you. I was like, Palo Alto, maybe? I don't know. Sorry, I'm just guessing. I don't mean to be rude, by the way. Okay, Port Arthur. Where's Port Arthur?
It is about 100 miles east of Houston.
Okay. So, if a monk, so this monk then, how do you pronounce his name again? That's assigned to Salt Lake?
Viet.
Huyên Viet. Do you know how often he's visited Salt Lake City since he was assigned there?
He was there at the annual open forum around October, just recently. And then he went up there on the major religious event. I would say at least 7 times a year that he would be going up to Salt Lake City.
So he's there for the major religious events.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. And who books his travel?
The congregation there would pick his travel expenses.
Do you know who is leading the congregation in Salt Lake City now that is booking this monk's travel?
Objection.
When Vit?
There's a board.
Assumes facts, not an evidence.
Do you know who the board is?
No.
Do you know who appointed the board?
No, the board formed by itself.
Okay. So the Congress didn't appoint the board?
No.
Has the Congress ever appointed any board at the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
Objection. Misstates prior testimony. I don't know for sure that you're talking about Salt Lake and the pagoda being one and the same.
Okay, well, let's clarify that then. Do you believe the pagoda and Salt Lake? What do you mean by when you say go in to visit Salt Lake? What are you talking about? Are you talking about the Salt Lake Pagoda?
There's
Phổ Quang
a
Pagoda?
Liên Hoa. No, there's another pagoda in Salt Lake City called Liên Hoa also.
Okay.
Lienhoa.
All right, and do you know who the leader of the Lin Swai Pagoda is?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you know if Congress appointed that board?
I know that Congress does not appoint that board.
Are they affiliated with the Congress?
Yes.
Do you know if Congress has ever appointed a board at the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
Yes.
When was that?
2004.
And do you know why they appointed a board in 2004?
Because there was a dispute among the congregants. Couldn't come together.
How did you learn about this dispute?
How did I learn about the dispute?
Mm-hmm.
I learned about dispute by direct instruction from Congress.
Okay, so
One in 2010, when I took the assignment.
in 2010 you were told about a 2004 dispute.
Yes,
For what purpose?
to give me the background.
Do you know who was on the board that was appointed by Congress in 2004 at the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
The chair of the board was the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng,
Okay.
and that's the information that I received directly from the Congress.
Do you know if Thích Trí Lãng was ever removed as chairman of the board of the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
He was removed. No, he resigned
Do you know why he resigned?
because he couldn't bring the parties together.
So do you know if the Congress has ever appointed another board at the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
The Congress at that time did not appoint anyone to be the board of the Phổ Quang Pagoda.
So to the best of your knowledge, the only time that the Congress ever appointed a board at the Phổ Quang Pagoda was around 2004 when it appointed the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng.
Around that time, it could be from 2003, 2004.
Do you know how long the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng was the chairman of the board?
Asked and answered.
For a short time.
So why didn't the Congress appoint another board after Thích Trí Lãng resigned?
Objection vague.
The reason the Congress did not appoint anyone because it is on a voluntary basis. Nobody would want to volunteer to be the chairman of the board of the Phổ Quang Pagoda.
Okay, and when you mean he didn't appoint, none of the monks, none of the 14 monks wanted to be the spiritual leader for the Phổ Quang Pagoda after Chon Lok left. Is that what you're saying?
That's the wrong thing.
Okay.
To be a chairman of the board is different than to be the religious leader.
Okay.
Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So what is your question?
I want to know why they did not appoint a chairman of the board after Chon Lok left.
Because the decision was made that the dispute is not about religious function. The dispute is about material possession. And that is a dispute outside the principle of Buddhism.
Okay, so the Congress at that point in time decided that they just would not appoint a leader then at that pagoda?
No, that's not true. A religious leader was still being appointed. The Venerable Thích Trí Lãng stay on as the religious leader to advise on the religious matter, to advise on how a religious event should be prepared and who should they invite to attend to the event. However, he did not particularly involve directly into the material dispute.
And prior to the appointment of Venerable Thich Chon Lok in 2004 as the chair of the board, had the Congress ever appointed another chair of the board at the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
Objection asked and answered.
No.
To your best of your knowledge, has Congress ever appointed the chairman of the board for the management of a building at any other pagoda other than that instance in 2004 with Chon Lok?
Objection vague.
No.
Okay, you're sure of that?
Positive.
Okay, what makes you so certain?
Because that's not the principle of the Congress.
So it's not the principle of the Congress to administer or run the pagoda?
That's correct.
All right. So what is the goal of the Congress then?
Religious matters.
So would it be fair to say then that a monk from the Congress is supposed to act as a spiritual leader for a pagoda? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. And if the principles of Buddhism are followed, then the Congress is not supposed to interfere in the day-to-day operations of physical property.
That's correct.
When you were preparing for today's deposition, did you ever speak to any of the monks about any promises that they may have made or may not have made to members of the Phổ Quang Pagoda about returning title to them?
That was not by a singular discussion, but it was at the open forum, the monthly open forum. The question was put in front of the Congress.
And
so we had the opportunity to ask everyone. And every one of the members could hear about the answer. And there was no promises made to any particular party about returning the title to any particular group.
do you know with which temple T.V.T is affiliated?
Objection asked and answered.
T.V.T, what do you mean by affiliated?
Like, does he attend a certain pagoda in Salt Lake City? Do you know which one?
I actually attend both Phổ Quang and the Liên Hoa.
Do you know if he's a leader in either one?
A single leader? No.
Does the Congress have any monks that do not sit on the executive board?
There are many.
Okay, how many are those?
I would say in the hundreds.
Okay. And of those 100 monks, are any of them assigned to a, okay, provide leadership to a pagoda? I'll correct myself there.
Objection, misstates prior testimony.
They would provide religious advice
Okay.
to a certain pagoda if being asked for.
Do you know of any monks that provide religious advice or leadership or spiritual leadership to the Phổ Quang pagoda?
Objection,
Yes.
vague.
Who?
The Venerable Thích Trí Lãng.
Okay. Which one is that? I'm sorry, spell his name, please.
Trí Lãng, K-I-E-N,
Okay.
G-I-A-I.
Okay. Anyone else?
And Thích Trí Lãng, right?
Okay.
Of the Pháp Hoa, of the Đạo Tràng Pháp Hoa.
Of the what? I'm sorry, I lost you too.
Đạo Tràng Pháp Hoa, D-A-O-T-R-A-N-G P-H-A-P-H-O-A.
How about through the years? We've talked about Chan Lok, we've talked about Kin Gan, we've talked about Tri Lang. Anyone else you know of?
Objection, be more specific.
Through the years, you know, from inception, 2000 on. Do you know of any other monk that's given ceremonies at Phổ Quang
Yes.
Pagoda? Who else?
The Venerable Thích Giác Đẳng,
Okay.
G-I-A-C-D-A-N-G.
Oh, sorry, I lost my pen. Sorry about that. All right. So, going back to Exhibit 115, or excuse me, 16, which is the amended complaint and counterclaim. Page 4, paragraph 19, it says, several years later, in 2007, which you corrected to be 2004, the Congress discharged Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Vo from the board after the Congress learned that Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Vo were not fulfilling their duties to the Congress. Do you know what duties they were not fulfilling?
Yes, the duty is to provide access to the monk to come for the religious event.
Which monk was that?
The monk Thích Trí Lãng,
That's K.
K-I-N-G-I-A-I.
Okay. So that would have occurred in 2004 or 2007?
It occurred several times. It's not one time it happened.
How did you know that Kinzai was denied access to the temple?
Because it was in the record.
What record?
The record that was provided at the hearing in Utah for the TRO.
What was the date of the TRO?
What was the
I can't help.
2011?
Okay, so I understand that occurred in 2011, but do you know if those events took place in 2004 or 2007 as well?
It happened several times throughout those periods. Every time that they have an event, and that was, that was locked out, And that's why the Congress decided they were looking for somebody who would be more agreeable to allow the monk to come.
All right, so you believe that in 2004, they were trying to find someone more agreeable to allow Keen Zai to be admitted into the temple. You believe that's what you believe is the case?
Yes, and also Giác Đặng, Thích Giác Đặng was not allowed in 2007 to enter the temple.
And do you know if they found someone that was more agreeable?
I know. None were agreeable. Therefore, they will have to get an eviction order from the court to keep the temple open.
All right, so that would happen in 2011. I'm trying to figure out what happened in 2007 that we're referring to in the complaint here.
I mean, I couldn't say that it was agreeable because the access was denied or open at undetermined time. So from my viewpoint, is that there was no one agreeable monk that could have access to the Phổ Quang temple.
So do you know if any monk from the Congress made any visits to the Phổ Quang Pagoda between 2007 through 2011?
Yes.
Okay. And were they allowed in the temple during those times?
They were not allowed. They had to be, I mean, being allowed meaning that the temple was open without having to, having to rely on some hand twisting to have the temple open.
Do you know if any monks from the Congress between 2007 and 2011 attended any religious ceremonies at the temple?
Yes, the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng was there for several events. Oh. And actually he was there for raising funds for the education program, the youth education program for the Phổ Quang temple.
Okay, so he was allowed in the temple during those instances?
Yes.
All right. So do you have other instances that you're in?
But after that, he got locked out. Okay,
so like the same day he was locked out, the next day?
A month later, he got locked out.
Okay, so tell me, is a monk supposed to have keys to the pagoda so they can come and go? Is that how it works?
Yes, but if the lock got changed, those keys become useless.
Okay, do you know if the Venerable Thích Trí Lãng had keys to the pagoda in Utah at any point in time?
No.
You don't know?
No.
Do you know if the locks were ever changed at the pagoda in Utah?
Yes.
Do you know when they were changed?
No, they were changed in 2010, 2011. There's a locksmith receipt for changing the lock.
Who changed the locks then?
The defendant changed the lock.
The defendant who?
Mr. Hoa, Mr. Tran, Mr. Trực Phan.
And do you think that happened in 2010?
In 2010, yes.
Okay. Going back to the complaint, it indicates, well, anyway, have you told me everything else you can think about in the ways that Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Vo were not complying with the bylaws of the Congress? Can you think of anything else that they were doing that you believe was in violation of the bylaws?
They borrowed the money from the bank to make construction to the temple without informing the Congress.
Is it required that they inform the Congress?
If they say that they want to abide by the law, by the bylaw of the Congress.
Okay, my understanding was that they didn't have to sign the bylaws. Is that correct?
Yes, but did they say that they didn't want to abide by the bylaw to the Congress? They never say that. So your view is that according to the bylaws of the Congress, before a local pagoda can make an expenditure, they have to run that by the Congress? No, I didn't say that.
Okay, what type of expenditures?
If you made a statement that you're going to abide by the bylaw of the Congress, then you should abide by that.
Well, how making money to do construction without notifying the Congress, how does that violate the bylaws?
But because it does has a statement in the bylaw requiring to inform the Congress when borrowing money, and especially when the title is still in the Congress name.
Okay, so you believe that the bylaws provide that a local pagoda must clear with the Congress before they borrow money?
No, for that particular Phổ Quang pagoda, who has the Congress as the title holder. Therefore, borrowing the money on the name of the Congress, they must clear through the Congress.
Do you know if any money was borrowed in the name of the Congress?
Objection. Document speaks for itself.
It was borrowed on the land of the Congress.
But do you know if it was borrowed in their name?
It's borrowed on the land with the title of the Congress.
So what do you believe they put the land down as collateral? Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure if I understand what you mean.
It was borrowed to make construction on the name of the Congress, on the land of the Congress, with the Congress having the title.
Okay, so you told me earlier that in the whole history of the Congress, to your knowledge, the Phổ Quang pagoda is the only pagoda to which the Congress has ever held title to any piece of property.
Correct.
And you believe that according to the bylaws of the entire Congress, that the Phổ Quang pagoda could not do any construction without notifying the Congress because they own title.
Objection. Misstates prior testimony. Document speaks for itself.
You want to say that again?
Sure. All right, so and you believe, so maybe the question to me is if in the history of all the Congress, no pagoda has ever transferred title to the Congress, how could the bylaws address that situation?
Because it anticipates the situation.
You believe the bylaws anticipated that situation?
Yes.
Can you be more specific for me and tell me which article or which section of the bylaws you're referring to?
Objection. Document speaks for itself.
If you give me the document, I will show it to you.
Okay. I want to see what you're talking about. Good, thank you. Would you like it in English or would you like it in Vietnamese? How about both?
How about both?
Okay. I'm going to hand you what's been previously marked as Exhibit 56. Don't lose it because it's the only copy I have. And let's see if I can find the English translations for you.
Boy, let me put a little click on it.
Thank you. Let me find it. All right, I think the second exhibit is Exhibit 82. That's been previously marked in this deposit, in this case, which I believe to be the translated version of the bylaws.
Okay. All right, so according to Chapter 6, okay, the Congress is responsible for protecting all of Congress religious facility at localities recognition of private authority on legal as well as financial aspect of those local facilities. So,
Okay, so you're looking at chapter 6.
right.
And so you take that to mean that the Phổ Quang Pagoda then had to contact and get approval of Congress before it could do any construction on its land?
Objection document speaks for itself.
Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that making a financial burden on the property, having the Congress being a title holder is in violation of that particular article.
Okay, and so I notice as I read chapter 6 of the translated version of the Congress's bylaws, it says that Congress is responsible for protecting all the facilities at local localities. Where does it say in these bylaws that an affiliated congregation or not-for-profit organization carries that same responsibility?
Objection document speaks for itself.
It's just like you come into my house and you trash it up. I have the right to throw you out. It doesn't say anywhere that if you trash it up, I'm going to throw you out.
Okay, so that's fine, I understand, but if you're relying upon the bylaws, I want to know where it says it. If you believe it's just some other principle that exists outside the bylaws, that's fine too.
Right.
Do you believe it's just a principle that exists outside the bylaws that you believe they violated?
I believe the principle is set by the bylaw.
Okay.
Okay. And the Congress took action in regard to that bylaw because the action of the Congress when it removed the 3 defendants from the position is to protect the Article 29.
Okay, so if you told me earlier that you believe that the 3 defendants were removed from their position in 2004. So you believe that that it took the Congress between 2004 and 2011 to do anything about the fact that they're still at the pagoda?
Objection misstates prior testimony.
What do you mean by that the Congress did not take any action prior to 2011?
Yeah.
It took a lot of action. It did not take legal action.
Okay, what actions did it take?
That is the difference. It took action by trying to mediate the difference between the 2 parties at the Phổ Quang temple. It took action by sending monks, so that they can provide guidance through religious teaching. It took action by providing a senior monk to try to appeal to the common sense of the parties. And until it has exhausted all the compassion remedy, then it resorted to the legal action. So to say that Congress did not take any action is wrong.
Well, I'm trying
is to ignoring all those actions that it had taken to preserve the peace.
And I recognize that. Thank you for clarifying that. What I'm trying to figure out is when I asked you what were the other things they had done, you had indicated to me that they had taken the money and started construction on the land without the authority of Congress.
They who?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. You said they. You said the pagoda.
No, I
the
didn't say
members of the
they.
pagoda.
I pointed out to you the 3 defendants.
Okay, the 3 defendants
That's right.
did that.
So I didn't say they, just to be vague, but I did point out the name.
Okay. So if the 3 defendants were, if you're in your mind, discharged from the board in 2004, and how do you believe they had the authority then to do anything at the pagoda in 2011?
Objection documents speak for themselves.
How do I believe? They use documentation to pursue their goal, because the bank won't loan any money without any document been written, right? Application been filled out, name been given. And if you show me the mortgage document, I will show you where they have made the representation of authority without having the real authority. Do you have them?
Yeah. Do you know if any mortgage applications were ever filled out other than those that were used to acquire the property originally?
There are report, but there's no mortgage indicating. But they borrow money and they raise money to pay for the for that loan to repair the front gate.
So were the loans not from a banking institution though, for individual members? Is that your memory?
No. The loan is from an institution, financial institution. The money is being raised to pay for that loan.
And you believe that was associated with the construction of the gate?
It was, it's not that I believe, it was stated that it was for the gate.
Okay. So going back to Exhibit 116, paragraph 19, it starts on one page and continues over. It says, they were refusing to communicate with the Congress and were refusing to comply with the written instruments from the Congress. Instructions from the Congress. Among other things, the Congress learned that Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Vo had formed the association, a purported religious organization that followed different tenets of Buddhism than the Congress. Okay, so what information do you have about the fact that the association follows different tenets of Buddhism than the Congress?
I didn't catch it. Could you want to repeat that again?
Sure. What information do you have that the association follows different tenets of Buddhism than the Congress?
Different tenet. They use, well, the tenet of the Congress is when you have visited monk, you have to ask the monk in charge permission to enter the pagoda. They didn't do that.
Okay, so that's one violation. So does that mean they follow a different Buddhism than you do, or the Congress does?
No, they probably follow different purposes than different purposes, different goals, yes,
okay,
than the one that they had expressed to the Congress.
Okay, and what do you mean by different purposes?
Making it their personal property instead of the property of the community.
All right, so making it their personal property?
That's right.
What steps do you think they did to make it their personal property?
By locking out, by controlling access to the temple, they perfected the community property into their own property.
Okay, and you're referring to the three defendants that you've identified previously?
Yes.
All right, and so what community are you referring to?
The community of the Buddhists in Salt Lake City.
Do you have a list of those people that you're referring to?
Do I in my possession?
Or the Congress in its possession?
The Congress doesn't have in its possession, but the local monk and nun would have it.
All right, so you believe the local monk and nun have a list of the Vietnamese community that you believe has been, to use the word, disenfranchised, maybe, by the three defendants?
Yes.
Okay, has that been produced to council, do you know?
Actually, it's already been produced in one of the production that I saw.
Okay, do you remember what it looked like?
Looked like it was typewritten on computer and produced that.
Was it typewritten names?
Yes.
And do you remember what it was titled?
No, I don't remember the title, but I remember that there were several pages.
All right, so other than locking the doors, any other steps that you believe that the three defendants took to make this their personal property?
Well, using the property for collateral.
Using the property as collateral.
Right.
Do you know if they did use the property as collateral?
That's what we've been asking for the loan document that they used for the construction of the front gate.
So if they did use the documents, or use the land as collateral to fund the construction of the front gate, is there any other instances that you know of where you believe that they use the property as collateral?
Yes.
When?
No, not for collateral. That's one instance I know of.
Any others?
No.
Okay. So what other instances, or what other steps do you think the three defendants took to make the pagoda their personal property rather than the property of the community?
Having parties there without asking authorization from the monk.
What kind of parties?
You know, where you come and drink, eat, have fun.
All right, so if there's no monk or nun in residence, would you still have to request permission, says, in order to have a party at the pagoda?
Yes, because you still have an advisory monk, right?
So would you have to seek permission of the monk before you held services every week?
Yes.
Would you have to make that request each and every week?
No.
Okay. How about if you wanted to have every Wednesday night, let's have a group meeting of the women to talk about investments, let's say, or to make themselves better citizens. Would you have to get a request from the monk to do that?
Yes, because making monetary gain on a Buddhist religious ground is against the teaching of Buddha.
How about if it was to make care packages for troops or for the flood victims in Vietnam?
Human right is an advocacy of Buddhism.
Okay, so
we're talking about compassion. That's two different things.
So would you have to get permission?
No, let me ask you this thing,
Okay.
though, because are those real events that you are relaying to me, or is just some
They're hypotheticals.
factual,
They're
hypothetical? I think that we shouldn't go into hypothetical when you want to have proper discovery. Would you agree with me?
No, I don't agree, because I'm trying to figure out, in circumstances, how a person is supposed to know what level for which activities you need to seek authority from the Congress.
Okay, if you don't know,
Objection vague.
would you ask the person in authority?
I'm asking you, because you're the person in authority.
I'm not a person in authority for religious advice. I'm a person for legal advice and a person for facts.
But today you're the 30B6 from the Congress. I'm trying to figure out if I was a member of Pagoda and I wanted to have a meeting there. My question is, do I have to ask permission each and every time I have the meeting?
No, I already answered that.
Okay.
I say that you can ask in advance.
Okay.
And as long as you provide the substance of the meeting and it get approved by the residing monk or the advisory monk, then you have the permission.
Other than this case that we're involved in, do you have any information about the Congress ever kicking out, discharging, disenfranchising, stopping association with any other pagoda because of them holding meetings and not having them cleared by their monk?
Objection vague.
In what year?
Any year. In the entire time that you've been working for the Congress and before.
Under what circumstances?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Under what circumstances would the Congress say, you're no longer affiliated with us?
The Congress never disfranchised Phổ Quang Pagoda.
That's not my question.
I didn't see anywhere that it said disfranchised Phổ Quang Pagoda. It only removed 3 individuals from the board. So I don't see how you can lump that together, the 3 defendants as being the equivalent to the Phổ Quang Pagoda. They never represent the Phổ Quang Pagoda because they didn't. That's why the majority forced them to transfer the title to the Congress.
In your experiences with the Congress as a legal counsel, and then from what you had from speaking with them, and you can review from the documents, have you ever seen any circumstance in which the Congress said to a pagoda, any pagoda, you're no longer affiliated with us?
No, because it is on a voluntary basis. Okay, that is asking against the basis of the Congress. The Congress never asked people to join. The Congress never asked people to leave. People leave or come on their own accord. If they believe in the principle of the Congress, they come. If they don't believe in the principle of the Congress, they would leave. There is no pressure. There is no forceful retainer. There was no such thing.
Okay. In all your years as legal counsel and from speaking to other people that are in the Congress, have you ever known the Congress to ever terminate any members of the local leadership of a pagoda anywhere at any time other than the Phổ Quang temple?
Okay. In the Phổ Quang pagoda, this is different because it is a property that the Congress held title. Therefore, the Congress, by its own its own word, has to protect the Article 29. So they were acting on those words. And if you cannot give me any example of anything that is under the same circumstances as the Phổ Quang pagoda, I haven't seen any other another temple like Phổ Quang pagoda.
Okay, and that's because this is the only temple you've ever heard of where the Congress actually had title to the property.
Not ever heard of it. Read about it and discuss about it. Not heard.
Okay, so, but this is the only one you have any knowledge of, and the only instance in which the Congress ever held title.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, so then my question is, other than, I recognize the Phổ Quang pagoda is an anomaly in the whole Congress situation, because they're not supposed to hold title to property, and so it's unusual that they had title to this property. I get that, you've testified as to that. My question to you is are there any other circumstances that would lead the Congress to ever discharge, replace, disqualify, remove any type of local administration of a pagoda?
Like I say, it's all voluntary. They come, they go, unless Congress has title to it.
Okay. So you believe that the fact that they hold title is the distinguishing factor between the Phổ Quang pagoda and every other pagoda in the nation?
That's correct.
All right. So outside of holding that title, would you agree that the Congress has no interest in or no desire to run the day-to-day operations of the pagoda in Utah, in Phổ Quang pagoda in Utah?
Objection.
They do attend to the religious health of the Buddhist community in Salt Lake City.
So does Congress pay the utility bills for the Phổ Quang pagoda?
Congress pay utility bill. That's interesting. Somebody used the Congress name as owner and apply for a utility account. So would you count that as one?
Well, did they actually pay it? Or was it just in their name?
They use the name of the Congress to obtain that. So does that mean that the Congress pay for it?
Well, I'm asking you, did the Congress ever write a check to pay the utilities in Utah on the Phổ Quang pagoda?
Objection assumes facts not in evidence.
No.
Okay, because you told me you don't have a checkbook or a checking account.
No.
So the Congress could never write a check under any circumstances. Would that be fair to say?
No, that's wrong.
How could they write a check?
They can write it if they're going to establish an account. It's not that they don't have the ability to open a bank account that they don't write a check. It's because their desire is not to have a bank account. But under the legal right, they have the right to have a bank account.
Okay, so Congress could go open a bank account. There's nothing to prohibit them from opening a bank account, except maybe the tenets of Buddhism, which would not require them to own any property.
It's not that the tenet of Buddhism not requiring them to own any property. They decide on a voluntary basis not to own any real property or personal property.
Okay. All right, so has the Congress ever paid any real estate taxes on the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
No,
Okay. Has the Congress ever requested a building permit or done any repairs at the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
Objection. Assumes facts not in evidence.
no,
Has the Congress ever raised any money for repairs at the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
yes.
Okay, how do you believe they've raised money?
They raise the money by allowing, they raise the money by providing their name during those religious events that the defendant publicized to the public to come and make donation.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that if I say the Congress is coming to my event, we're sending a monk, please come, and I'm using it as a fundraiser, you believe that is the Congress raising money for the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
Well, if you have the sign saying that, people would believe it.
Okay, but do they actually? Does the Congress take the money and then give it to the Phổ Quang Pagoda, or does the Phổ Quang Pagoda just keep the money?
The Phổ Quang Pagoda kept the money.
All right. So another way to put it is that they utilize the name of the Congress.
That's right.
Okay, and they note their affiliation with the Congress in order to raise money.
That's right.
Okay. So do you not believe that Mr. Phan, Mr. Tran, and Mr. Vo were Buddhist?
Being a Buddhist is by your action. It's not by saying that you are a Buddhist, that you are a Buddhist. It's just not because you memorize the Dharma that you are the Buddhist. Because the principle of Buddhism is compassion. And there is no compassion by remaining silent when action is required. There is no compassion by abusing the name of the Congress.
All right. So when do you believe the three defendants remained silent when action was required? Can you give me some examples?
I'm talking about in general.
Can you give me any specifics, though?
Specific about what? About them?
Yes. When do you think they should have spoken up and they didn't?
They should have spoken up when they got removed by the Congress from the board.
Do you know if they did?
They did not.
How do you know that?
Because the paper still have their name on it.
What paper? What are you talking about?
The association paper still have their name on it. And people believe that they're still in control of the Phổ Quang Pagoda because they believe that the association was the one who held title to the Phổ Quang Pagoda. They should have spoken that they have been removed, but they've never been disclosed.
All right, so did you ever speak to the Venerable Thich Dok Dong about the fact that a delegation from Utah, 2 delegations from Utah, went to the annual forum in approximately 2005 to formally protest on the floor about the situation at the Phổ Quang Pagoda?
Objection. Assumes facts not in evidence.
Did I know?
Did you know?
Yes.
Okay, what do you know about that?
They will protest.
They, being the Phổ Quang Pagoda, would protest?
No, they being the delegate, coming to the forum, raising objection about the condition of the Phổ Quang Pagoda.
And what do you mean by condition? Like its physical condition or the fact that Chan Lok was there?
The fact that there was people objecting to how they use the money, how they use the donation provided at the Phổ Quang temple. I didn't hear anything about any objection about the title or returning the title to the association or to the society.
All right, so who told you about these objections, that they were coming to protest?
The Venerable Giác Đặng.
Okay, and when did he tell you this?
He told me in 2010.
All right, when you became the legal counsel.
Right.
when he was explaining the history of this relationship with Utah.
That's correct.
Okay, so he told you that they were going to come to the annual delegation and protest, and you indicated about the bank accounts and how the money was being spent?
No, I was not on the record.
I know it wasn't on the record, but what did Gak Don tell you?
No, Giác Đảng told me the delegation was objecting on how the money being used at the pagoda, at the Phổ Quang pagoda.
And you indicated that this objection was not on the formal record. Do you know why?
I believe that it was so there was so much confusion at that time because there was so many parties. I mean, there was more than one party speaking, and there was no order. Okay, and the record only indicated the objection about the financial condition of the Phổ Quang temple, or Phổ Quang pagoda.
Okay, so then your testimony is that in the official record, an objection was lodged regarding the Phổ Quang pagoda, but that it was only limited to the financials.
Right.
All right, but there was no discussion about the title.
Correct.
All right, did Gak Don tell you whether or not he and Vinh Le had any other discussions with the delegation from the Phổ Quang pagoda prior to the open forum about the ownership of the title?
I didn't ask.
You've never asked him that question?
No, I never asked about that.
And he never volunteered that to you?
Nope.
Okay.
He never volunteered that. I never asked because the Congress, the matter of Congress, and the matter of private discussion between the defendant and the monk individually are not the matter of Congress. They are separate matters.
All right, so if you're at the forum and a monk asks you to go into a side room and discuss with you, as a member of the board of directors, you do not believe that person is acting on behalf of the Congress?
Say again, I don't think that you got it right. Go ahead.
If you're at a forum.
If you, who, me?
Yes, you or me. Any representative, any delegate goes to a forum
Right.
and is asked by a monk.
No, the monk will not ask you. You raise your hand and then you submit the question. All right. So
How about prior to the formal delegation beginning? You were asked by a monk or a group of monks to come into a side room and discuss a topic to avoid embarrassment or avoid public. Would that ever happen?
Objection assumes facts not in evidence.
that happened. No, I would not it happen because embarrassment is not something that the Congress would back out of it, because when they accept the burden, embarrassment is part of the burden. So I would disagree with that.
All right. So, but if that situation arose, you do not believe that monk would be speaking on behalf of the Congress?
Objection assumes facts not in evidence.
It is unclear what you're asking me, because if the monk asking you to speak with him privately on a certain matter that would have embarrassing in front of the open forum, that would not have happened, because embarrassment is part of the burden to take on the religious advisory position.
All right. How about to avoid conflict?
Conflict is not for the Congress to decide whether that would be conflict or not. Congress is to address matters out in the open, so there will be no further conflict. The conflicts are created by the party presenting their statement.
Okay. I think we're about running out of tape, so it's a good time for us to take a break, and we'll come back, okay?
Okay.
We are off the record at 11:51.